So, Jordan, what was the great thing that happened to you this week?
Okay. I received a message. As many of the Quadcast went live a couple weeks ago. We debuted a number of episodes. I'm very proud of what the work that we've done. But I got a message from my aunt. My 90-year-old grandmother was able to tune in on YouTube and watch watch the pod, that is, and just to see us in action and just to see the hard work that we put in. So very touching. Grandma, if you're watching this episode, I love you. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's great to have you tune into the quad and, see the crew here and the pod. It was just super cool to hear that news. So I'm happy that you all could kind of be part of it as well, too, because I feel like, more viewers, more attention on the pod is the better for everybody. And the more we can keep, pumping out quality episodes. So I got the warm and fuzzies. What can I say?
Welcome to the Technically Diverse Podcast, featuring the Quadcast crew.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Technically Diverse Podcast. We are located at the intersection of cultural diversity and technology. My name is Jordan. I am hosting the podcast, but my co-host is Ruby, aka Amsako.
Live from Boxing Academy in India. Hi.
Behind the scenes and working his magic is Uncle Mike. Remember, if it ain't Mike, it ain't right.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
And keeping us in line and doling out law and order is our producer, Roz, aka Peaches.
Hi, feeling super blessed today.
We're going to do a deep dive today into the hair industry, hair products, and everything hair. It's been requested and we decided to deliver. Okay, so we couldn't talk about hair or have an episode about hair without our next special guest. Please welcome Elle Salvagio Peters. She's a freelance journalist, content marketing consultant, and a pseudo hair aficionado. Thanks for coming on the show, Elle.
Oh, Jesus. I just spaced out. I'm so sorry. Nice to be on the show. I was just so intent on listening to Jordan, big myself up that I totally forgot to say hi. So. Hi, nice to be on the show.
Beautiful. So, Elle, welcome to the show. I know that you have a master's degree in journalism and communications from Columbia University. You also have a bachelor degree in political science and Afro-American studies from Howard University, a traditional HBCU. So, a little clapping for that.
Yes.
You've worked with MLSE, the Elizabeth Fry of Toronto Association, the Massey Center for Women, and you're currently utilizing your talents while, working with companies in the music and entertainment industry.
I think that's all of it. That sounds like a lot.
You're definitely a busy beaver, and I went ahead and I wanted to know more, so I did online research on you, and I was able
and you
to.
Found nothing.
No. I found some stuff. Okay, so I was able to figure out that your favorite color is magenta. Your favorite food is Spanish tapas. In your spare time, you like to ride jet skis, perform Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and you're an avid tennis and yacht racing fan.
What? That doesn't sound right. Where did you find this stuff, Jordan? I feel like you're making it up.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm gonna come clean. I made everything up. All that is false. I couldn't find anything on you online, and I saw the irony here because you manage social media for other people and other entities, and there's nothing on you. And I thought that.
And I have no social media. Yes, and I like it that way.
How is that possible? How there's not a trace of you on the internet? You're just like a phantom at this point.
Yeah. Well, part of my jobs and in past, my jobs have kind of been being a ghost, sort of being behind the scenes, and just as a natural introvert who has a job in communications and sort of music, I really like to play the background. I always tell Roslyn this, which is weird because of how we met. I don't like people. And I know because of my job, that sounds weird. But things make me nervous. Even just talking with you guys right now, it took a lot. So I've always played the background, always. And I've mastered it. I have social media, but nobody would know that I have social media. And that's just been a large part of my job. So when you said that you found something, I was kind of like, how?
Well, I'm pretty techie, so you know, I wouldn't put it past me. I'll find something eventually, but for now, you know, I'm comfortable, you know, using these kind of fake facts to go by.
I mean, I'm sure if you went on Elizabeth Fry Toronto or maybe even the Massey Center site, you'll find something. But it's kind of been my job it is my job to be a ghost of some sort. So I bring people's like visions to life, but I always play the background, and I prefer it that way.
Wicked. Well, you know what? We can definitely respect that. So, you know, Roz told us a little bit about how you guys met, but I'd love to hear your version of the story, and, you know, to get a little bit behind that.
So we were both on a flight to Grenada, and I expect that maybe her first introduction to me was like, oh, okay, because there was a man who just sort of like took over my seats and then had the nerve to ask me if it was okay for his wife to sit in my seat, but she was already sitting there when I came.
So I guess he wanted to have a confrontation.
He said, he's like, is this okay? And I simply said, no, it's not. And waited for her to remove herself from my seat, and I sat down. So that was our sort of first introduction.
You sat beside the guy on the flight after? Like in the same row?
Yeah, well, his wife was in my seat, and I don't know, maybe because I had picked that seat, maybe they booked their flight late. They couldn't get a seat together. So she was sitting sort of across from him, and I was sitting right beside him, but she was already sitting there. And when I got on the plane, I kind of looked like, but wait, this is my seat. Why are you here? And then he looked at me like, kind of like, what about it? And I was just like, excuse me. And then he said, oh, do you mind? And I said, yes, I do. That's all I said was, yes, I do. I mind.
Okay. Elle, I need to know, was it the window seat, the aisle seat, or the middle?
Window seat. It was the window seat, and she had the aisle seat, and I was not sitting there. Not in first class, sweetie. I paid my coins. Move.
Oh, okay.
I was sitting behind her, and I was like, yes. Tell them these people are not making you move. No way.
Yeah. So that was our introduction. I'm like, oh, this girl probably thinks I'm so mean, because I'm just like, no, I mind. And then when we got off the plane, we just so happened to like be walking together, and so yeah, we just started up a conversation, which is something that I just don't do. Usually I have resting bitch face, so I was surprised that. So I'm like, oh my god, somebody's talking to me. What do I do?
So did you talk to Roz first, or did she talk to you first?
Oh, she spoke to me first, because that would never happen. I would never speak to anybody first. At work all day, that's fine, but by myself personally, no. It's just not going to happen. Even if I wanted to, I don't know why. I just can't do it.
So Roz has given us the skinny that you're this hair aficionado. How did that come to be? And you know, take us a little bit behind that.
Okay. Well, when I was 21, I got pregnant. I had a little girl, and I didn't know what to do with my hair. I used to do this thing called blow frying my hair, which is my mom had always done my hair, and throughout high school, I used to blow fry my hair, which was I take a blow dryer, no heat protectant, anything, and literally blow dry it straight. Obviously, it wouldn't last. I didn't have a relaxer. I had natural hair. And so I knew that I was not going to do that with my daughter's hair, and I had to research and figure out, how is this going to work? What am I going to do to take care of her hair? So I didn't have a choice. I had to figure it out. And I'm a very research-based person. So I started researching, hair. And as she got older, obviously babies are born with a different texture than they grow up with. I had to figure out my texture. And so we both have different textures, but just by doing research, I figured out what to do. And yeah, it's been like that ever since. I used to even have a hair blog, because I just needed answers. What am I doing? I don't know what to do with my hair or her hair. How am I figuring it out? And it also started from them, and just researching on YouTube, where there was only, it was early in the days. This was like 2007. So had to figure it out, and I did.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. Big ups to you for taking that initiative to help with your daughter. Ross put me up on the hair types recently, and I've now, it's a game for me to try to figure out other people's hair types. I stare at their hair and I'm like, oh, I wonder what that one is. So I had no idea about the hair types. So that's been pretty cool. What was that?
I actually do not believe in hair typing. So
really?
Yes. I find it very discriminatory. It actually does nothing for you to learn how to take care of your hair. It just tells you what type of hair you have. What is that going to do for you? Nothing.
Nothing. So explain about that, because I have no idea. I'm a complete hair novice. Uncle Mike has chosen to cut off his hair for certain personal preferences. He wanted to be more aerodynamic, and so he did that.
Okay.
So we find ourselves kind of on the outside looking in, and that's why we go to Roz. Like, she's our resident hair expert, and then you're her guru. So please enlighten us.
Okay, so the hair typing system was actually brought about by Oprah's hairstylist. Blanking on his name right now, but I'm sure I'll remember it at some point. And so hair typing just basically goes from like the straightest hair, which is like a 1, and then the sort of kinkiest or coarsest hair, which is in the 4. So you have like 1A, B, and then you have 2A, B, and you have 3A, B, C, and then you have 4A, B, C. 4C being the coarsest hair. And it's also more wiry. There's basically no curls if you have 4C hair, and it's probably more prone to dryness. Now, when you're taking care of your hair, you knowing what kind of curls or kinks you have does nothing for you. It does nothing in terms of letting you know what ingredients work for you, what products work for you. It's just a divisive way of just like saying what's better. Well, it's come like that on YouTube now, where the people that started the natural hair movement, which are people that had type 4 hair, have been sort of pushed out because everybody wants to see nice, pretty 3 type hair with nice long curls. It does nothing. It does nothing for the person to learn about how to take care of their hair. It's just, I find it to be very divisive. I'm not into hair typing. So if I ask somebody about their hair, I want to know what kind of porosity their hair, which means how easy it is for the hair to absorb and let go of water or moisture, and sort of how dense their hair is, like how fine the strands are, how much of it is on there. Do they have like low density hair, which means they don't have a whole bunch of hair on their head? Things like that will help you know what kind of products you need to use. Me knowing that you have coarse hair does nothing.
So how am I supposed to figure out my hair? Was it ferocity that you said?
Porosity.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Roz has ferocity. She has ferocious hair.
She does.
So how am I supposed to measure and find that out? Now I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is much more scientific than I had bargained for.
It actually is. So I mean, there's the easiest way for what I think is the best test is to literally wet your hair. And see how long it takes for water to absorb in your hair. So is your hair instantly drenched, or is it taking longer? Because your hair is going to feel wet, but like it's not going to feel drenched. Is it taking very long for the water to actually drench your hair and get into your strands? Can you use cold water? Does cold water allow absorb easily into your hair or not? So that's how you're going to know your porosity, and also wait for it to dry. Did it take a day? Because my daughter's hair takes a day, maybe even 2. A day to dry. She has low porosity hair.
So what does she do? She just sits around all day?
Basically.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
This is so fascinating.
It just means that if she's gonna wear like what Roz has in her hair is like a twist out. So if she's gonna wear a twist out, that means she cannot untwist it until it is dry, because it's just, then I've done work for no reason because it's not dry yet. Basically. Or she could sit under a dryer, but I don't like direct heat like that. So we do the natural thing around here, where usually I do her hair on a weekend, and it's just like, you don't have anywhere to go. We're in a panorama. So yeah.
So tell me something.
Sorry, Jordan. I just associated hair type with like heat settings on a straightener or a curling iron. And I didn't even know about this whole other element of like absorption of moisture in your hair, and like you're blowing my mind. And now I have to go do like this whole other research because I'm like, okay, like because I just thought, because I try not to put any heat products on my hair, but
you have color in your hair? Am I seeing color?
Yes, I do have color.
So you probably have high porosity hair because color is acidic. So you might have high porosity. The parts of your hair that are very colored might be high porosity. That means that the cuticle is actually raised because in order for you to add color to your hair, they had to lift it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Google is going to expect me after this podcast.
So,
yeah.
we were all telling stories and trying to think of the worst types of haircuts that we've had or hair disasters. Elle, what's the worst hair disaster that's happened to you?
I think when I maybe was about 16 and I was super excited for the first time to get my hair flat ironed. I was like, yes. And then the hairdresser was like, oh, we need to give you a trim. So I was like, okay, cool. I went from having about mid-back length hair to having a bob because this lady gave me a haircut and not a trim. And of course I paid for it and then cried and went home.
Oh.
Because what was I supposed to say? I'm not going to pay you. I'm 16. So.
Oh, and the word trim, it could mean a cut. Like a trim, loosely could be a cut. Oh, that's brutal. Ross, how about you? What's your hair nightmare?
Yes. So when I was in, I think it was like grade 5, I was really uncomfortable with my forehead. And so I asked my mom to give me some bangs. And so she blow dried my hair and then she gave me bangs while it was super fresh. And so the bangs, for anyone that can't see, my forehead is about 10 inches. And so okay, maybe a little bit less than that. But the bangs, when I went to school, in the next day, were probably covering about 2 inches of my forehead, which is less than half. And so those are my bangs right up here. And I was loving it. I was like, yes, I look amazing. And then a few years later, I saw the pictures and I was like, oh my God, this was not cute.
Ruby, how about you? What's your hair nightmare? What happened?
So this is, I like going to the hair salon in moments where you feel like you need to get like a makeover and feel refreshed, like just something about getting your hair washed and done. It's just a whole other experience and mood. And I was in Walmart and the feeling just came and overtook me. And I'm like, you know what? How bad could it be? I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to tell her to give me a makeover. And I just, for some reason, was like, you know what? It can't be that bad. It can't. I went in. So my hair was maybe just right above my waist. And I was like, like I'll go a little bit shorter.
Above your waist?
Yeah, just slightly above my waist. And I went and I was like, she's like, well, if you want to cut your hair like a lot, we can donate your hair. I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. But when she put the like the hair band on, I thought she was going to cut under the band. And then she cut maybe like an inch above the band. And then she's like, I got your hair. And I was just like, so it went from, it was up to here. Like it went to my shoulder. And I was just like, oh my God, you just cut off all my hair. And she's like, but it's for donation. And I was like, you're right. And I didn't know what to say. And I was like, you're right. Like, this is for charity. And I was like, my hair is fucking gone. Sorry. My hair's gone.
You can swear it. Hey, Ruby, guess what? It's our podcast. So if you want to curse, you're allowed. Like we make the rules.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks.
Although it is,
but I know Mike can bleep me out after if it's an issue. It doesn't stop there because I also told her to dye my hair, and I gave her a picture of what I wanted. It was like this ashy brown blonde color. She did my hair, and it was orange, and she didn't tone it enough or properly. And then this is what she said to me. She's like, just tell your friends this is what you asked for. And I left.
Oh my goodness.
And I left, and I was like, what the hell did I do to myself? Like, it was all my fault. I should have just I don't know what I was thinking, but I had an orange bob for a little bit.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah, we definitely gonna have to go into the vault for those pictures.
But
Okay.
no.
So Uncle Mike, I know, there was once upon a time where, you weren't so obsessed with being aerodynamic, and, you had some beautiful locks. Well, you have to give us a hair story, Uncle Mike. Come on.
Okay. So back in the day, so I grew up in the 80s and went to high school in the 80s. And back then, Michael Jackson was pretty popular. A lot of people had Jerry curls. I had Jerry curls. I had a nice Jerry curl mullet, you could say. So I had the hair coming down the front. I had the sides slicked back, and then I had the hair going down the back. It wasn't greasy, but I did have my Jerry curl. And I remember sitting in the salon, or even when my mom would do my hair, and having that stuff bun my head. Remember doing all that, especially the first day of going to school. You get your hair done, and you come to school with that new do with all the Jerry curls and curls going in, right? So that's me, not real.
So no horror stories. Everything's been smooth with
other than burning my scalp. That's it.
Oh man.
Well, Jordan, what about you? I'm pretty sure you have a story for us too.
Yeah. So my hair story revolves around barbers, because you form an intimate bond with your barber, and if your barber leaves or goes someplace, or decides to pursue something else, that transition period where you're trying to like find a new barber is really tough. So that happened to me once when my barber, she went away, and yes, she was a she. And, for years, shout outs to Connie. She cut my hair, kept me real nice and beautiful. But my barber went to do some work overseas, and I was in this weird purgatory period where I was looking for a new barber. So the shop that we were at, I decided to try another barber who was there, a newer lady. I didn't want to discriminate because, she was a lady, and, my current barber at the time was a lady. So I'm like, you know what, I'll give her a shot. I talked to her. She told me that, she had experience cutting hair. The shop manager reassured me because they knew I was kind of a bit psycho about that sort of thing. So, I let her give me a haircut, and, she gave me the cuts, and, midway through, I wasn't feeling it. Like something felt off, but I didn't want to be paranoid. So I let it go on. And then it came time for her to give me the straight razor, because, I love the straight razor. And she did the straight razor, and it just became apparently clear that she didn't know what she was doing. And to my horror, when the cut was complete, cut was not good. The lines were completely off, like just off. And the razor, just nah. So I was mad. I didn't want to freak out right then. And I felt kind of like really angry that the shop manager, who knew I was so like dialed in about the haircut, like recommended this person who obviously couldn't get the job done, who's obviously overmatched. And you could tell when someone's cutting your hair when they're like nervous. And it wasn't good. So I had to go to another shop, get my hair fixed. I paid for it out of my pocket, which was also annoying. But I didn't really have a choice. So yeah, that's my most recent horror story with my hair. Just not fun, but I'm in a much better place now. And and you got to put those things behind you and just move on.
Could you tell when she was doing it that it wasn't going right?
Yeah, just the vibe, like you could feel when the barber's in their bag and they're usually like cutting and like doing their thing, and you can just tell it's going well. This one, it was too tentative. I'm like, if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't be like hesitating. And yeah, it was just no good. It was just a trash haircut, and I don't want to be experimented on. I'm like, I legitimately feel like she experimented on my body, and I didn't like it. So. Oh man. So with that being said, we're gonna move into our next segment after a short break, and we're gonna dive into kind of the history around hair. We've got some questions around that, and I know Elle, you're a subject matter expert, so you'll keep us right on point.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Technically Diverse, our edition of All Things Hair. For this segment, we're going to be talking about the significance of hair in different cultures. This is one topic I feel like I have a little bit expertise in, because in my culture, being from the Sikh faith, we don't cut our hair because it's something that's God-given. It's something that we're born naturally with. And we have this belief that if it's God-given, there's a spiritual power to it. There's a significance to it. And there's other beliefs, like, as people take on any kind of religion, they have their own belief, and they take on their own opinions and perceptions of it. Some people believe it's a way to harness energy. Some people believe that, it's just written in our texts and won't do it. But my belief is it is because it's God-given, and if you want to be connected, you kind of escape that whole attachment to worldly things and kind of escape the vanity of it all to keep your hair. And the other thing that's really cool about it is, and we'll probably talk more about it in our Sikh Heritage Month, but being a Sikh and being, it's called Amritari. It's when you become baptized and you represent the 5 Ks, and the 5 Ks being Ges, which is hair, Ganga, which is a comb, Kashara, which is a form of underwear, Akara, which is a bangle, and a kirpan, which is a dagger that you have on yourself. And all those elements are kind of written in as a Sikh identity. And it's very symbolic, and it's important as who we represent to ourselves and to our communities.
Well, I never knew about that super, like, really intertwined connection with hair. It seems like a really big part of your culture.
It is, and I know I've cut my hair, but
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to cut your hair.
So growing up, there was this. So a lot of kids were like, "You're not allowed to cut your hair. You're not, you can't cut your hair." And a lot of that ties into going into school and being with other kids, and I guess our parents not being able to teach us. Coming here as first immigrants, holding on to the values and cultures of back home, and not being able to kind of really articulate the value and the importance of our identity. Because going to school and then being harassed for having a long braid, and my brother had a turban, like kids would take off his turban, and
they take off his turban.
They would take off his turban, and then he would come to me, and I'd have to wrap it up for him again. So there was a lot of traumatic experiences that you're like, I wish I was a white person. I wish I could cut my hair. And I shared with you guys, like, that time I just hacked my hair thinking I was going to like style my hair in some which way. But a lot has to do with it, with, kind of integrating to the society that we're in now, and not having that fundamental understanding of our belief and faith. And now as I've gotten older, and I've kind of diving deeply into my faith, I'm understanding the spiritualness of it. It's not so rigid. It's not about rules. I think once you embrace the philosophies and principles of the faith, you naturally start becoming more inclined to not want to cut your hair or do any of that stuff. So it's not a hard rule that, you can't or cannot. But I think once people embrace the faith, they naturally are inclined to want to be as they were born, so they can focus on ultimately service of others. And when you start focusing on the service of others, you stop reflecting on, oh my God, what's my hair color like today? I need to go for, it's a progression away from it, if that makes sense.
It totally does. And you mentioned that discovery point there, and it sounded kind of like when Roz mentioned that, she discovered that she didn't want to straighten her hair anymore to kind of fit in with what the pre-described notion of professionalism was.
Yeah, and I think as a kid, and even like, going into the workplace, you have to have a kind of a professional hairstyle. I couldn't imagine embracing my long braid and understanding the significance of that. Like, I wish I had the power back then, or the pride back then, to be like, this is my hair, it's long, it's braided, and I'm representing. And now learning about it, now I'm like, wow, like, and seeing other people, like it's so cool to see other people now have the long hair and not feel ashamed to have long hair, because I would be made fun of for having hair that went up to my butt. And it's just like, now I see a lot of people in the media with long hair, and it's, and now you see extensions, people putting in extensions for long hair
to get that look,
like below the butt, like long, like just, it's just insane. So that kind of triggers me to like, wow, now it's so acceptable. And I wish it was like that for me when I was younger.
Do you see similarities in any other cultures?
Yeah. So the interesting thing was like when I started like looking into like, is it only in the Sikh faith, or, and I used to like watch documentaries as well. But what's really cool is there's so many cultures around the world that believe in keeping their hair as is, as like as it's been given, God given, and not cutting it, because that element of the connection to energy, the element of the connection to, or not the connection to, but that belief of not being so attached to the vanity aspect of it. So I was looking into indigenous communities and different tribes and their belief in keeping long hair, and it's rooted in, again, in the energy source. And an interesting thing that I like discovered is, you know, when indigenous people of different tribes, and not all tribes I don't think do this, but when they cut their hair, they don't just throw their hair away, they do a ceremony. And some people in the Sikh faith, actually, when they comb their hair, they keep the hair and they do a ceremony of, the word is, I'm trying to remember the word in my language and it's not coming to mind, but it's essentially kind of burning your hair and giving it a ritual to kind of say bye to it instead of discarding it into the bin. But there's communities in like Asia and Chinese. There's a tribe called the Yao Tribe, and these women keep their hair long, and they only cut their hair right before marriage. But after that, they never cut their hair, and it's a tribe. It's considered to have like the longest hair in the world of all communities. And the base fundamental belief in that is it's going to bring prosperity and longevity if they maintain their hair. So it's really cool to see how different area cultures and communities around the world have this fundamental belief of the energy source that hair has, and not to cut it.
That kind of reminds me of Rastafarian culture. And Elle, have you do you see that similarity too with, you know, wanting to preserve long hair with Rastafarian culture?
I know when I grew up, I was told to not put my hair in the bin. I know that's a thing in Grenadian culture where you don't put your hair in the bin, you keep it and put it in we call it the fig tree, but it's a green banana tree, and you would put it in the stool of that. Also, like for the tree to grow, and that means your hair is going to grow along with the tree. So
Cool.
I know, and I know, and my uncle was a Rasta, he's not anymore, and that was a big thing following Samson in the Bible, where cutting hair was like not a thing. Like you don't ever cut your hair, not even to trim it. So he had really, really long locks that he would tie it up so he wouldn't walk on it. So I know not cutting your hair from a Rastafarian point of view is heavily tied with like the story of Samson. It's your strength growing from your head. So you never, it's like your strength, your knowledge, you never cut your hair.
Wow. It's funny how there's all these different cultures, and, you know, our pod, you know, we really explore cultural diversity, but it's cool to see these themes that are kind of woven across. And you think about how different, you know, the cultures can be, but how these similarities are still ingrained there from this hair perspective, which is just super interesting, because it would be so easy to kind of overlook.
Of course, like I see as she was telling the story of like the Yao woman in China, it just reminds me of how rice water in the natural hair community is like a big thing. And it came from the Yao women in China. They use rice water to grow their hair really long. And just during this pandemic time, if you Google rice water on like YouTube and natural hair, like that's a big thing, like using fermented rice to like actually grow your hair really long. So it's just interesting how like we've sort of now like natural hair community has sort of mixed all these different cultures. I'm not sure if people know where it's coming from, but you know, while Ruby was talking, I was like, oh, well, okay, cool. That's where that's from.
Yeah.
And I know, sorry,
go on now.
I was going to say, women in Chad actually use this powder called chebe to grow their hair really long, where they just sort of plaster their hair. They make a paste out of this powder and sort of plaster it onto their hair to preserve it and grow it. And they do that until they're married.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is, you know, you brought up Rastafarian hair, but I come to India often, and one of my observations was there is, you would consider him a yogi or a swami, and he had hair similar to a Rastafarian, like the dreads and everything. And I was really, because I just assumed it was usually Black people, African or Caribbean culture. So when I saw that, I started looking into it, and it was just the same elements of why they keep their hair long. It's rooted in the strength and the energy that they have in their hair. It's kind of, they believe it's like an uprooting of a tree, the roots of a tree that's kind of stemming out. So it's interesting to kind of see the correlation across the globe and the belief systems of individuals.
It also goes to show that we're all sort of, I mean, I know this is cliche, just like one people. I mean, a lot of our stories they might have different twists and turns, but they're pretty much very similar origin stories. So it's surprising, but also like, yeah, I figured that kind of thing.
So, you know, I'm glad that you brought this up, because, you know, one thing that kind of trips me up, and, you know, I think it's kind of a sticking point now, is like, Elle, what is natural hair? Like, what is the definition of natural hair?
So natural hair is just, to me, because it's different for everybody, to me, it's just hair that has not had a relaxer. Now, some people would say you might have natural hair, and if you've colored it, you've added chemicals, so it's not natural anymore. And I just think that's just like cherry picking. If you do not have a relaxer, your hair is growing naturally how it would out of your hair. That is your natural hair. So if it's naturally straight, it's natural hair. Whether you've added color or anything like that to it, it's all just natural hair. Even though, I mean, I know some people would be like, no, if you add any chemical, it's not natural hair, but that's not what it is to me.
And then, so why has there always been this like discrimination and, you know, around natural hair? Like I've heard that there's links to colonialism. You know, Roz has put me up with some of that stuff. Like, what's that all about?
It's more like we've been taught as a Black people that our hair from the beginning, we had to wear coverings when we were enslaved, there was something wrong with our hair. I believe like the 70s is really the only era that I see that people wore like loud and proud afros.
Greer, my girl Pam Greer, yeah.
Yeah, like just looking throughout, like if you sort of like just do a little bit of research on like Black hairstyles throughout, the 70s seems to be the only time where people actually didn't chemically process their hair. It's like we've been taught that this beautiful crown of head that grows out of our hair, like it's not good enough. It has to be sort of like put straight. It has to be tamed. Look at the Gorilla Girl in Gorilla Girl. I don't know why. Let me stop calling her Gorilla Girl. Gorilla Glue Girl. Like she literally, to get her hair slicked, she put Gorilla Glue in her hair. Like
that was so stupid.
Yeah, why did you think your ponytail needed to be that slicked back that you put Gorilla Glue in it and you thought that was okay? So it's just this notion that literally has just been passed on and on and on. I don't like us as like millennials. Why do we still care? Our hair has to be respectable and presentable. And what does that mean? So it just seems like it's been passed on to us that we need to tame our hair. It has to look a certain way for it to be deemed respectable. It even has to be a certain texture. That's why I don't like the hair typing system.
That's why you got so passionate about it.
Yeah, because for it to be like respectable, why does it need to look a certain way? And I find that like I cover my hair because I have the 3B curls, and I don't. Oh, your hair, you have good hair. What does that mean? What is good hair?
We've heard that statement, good hair, before. Ross,
Yeah,
I know
like,
you're
what
pretty
is-
fiery about that.
What is good hair? And like my daughter will be like, oh, how come I don't have hair like you? I'm like, you do have hair like me. It's just a little bit different, but you have the things that you do with your hair, I wish I could do with this, what I have in my head. Like, you know? So I tend to, like, people come up to me, like, touch my hair. Oh, what do you do to your hair? Nothing. What do you have in it? It's just water. Or like the trend where people like forcing themselves to have baby hair, where they'll like pull out a whole bunch of hair. It's just like, girl, that is not baby hair, that is adult hair. Please comb it back and cut
So
it out.
you don't want to see the tracks laid down. You don't like that.
No.
I think I would just want to add on to that, in terms of people starting to wear like afros in like the 60s or the 70s. A big part of that was really just realizing that even though we were trying to assimilate and be seen as equals to white people, like being told that like Black people are inferior, and look, these are the differences between Black people and white people. Their hair is kinky like animals, or their bodies are different, and being like put on display for having like big butts or whatever else it is. It's that Black people decided, okay, well, if I make my hair straight, then I'm equal. You can see me as a human being and understand that I know I'm not inferior. And so the 60s, 70s, like Angela Davis, civil rights movement and everything else in the US, it's realizing that you're still not seeing me as equal. Screw it. I'm gonna wear my hair as big as I want to and the way that it grows. And so like, that's it.
Yeah.
Ruby, I know you wanted to jump in there. Saw the power finger up.
Yeah, so I actually want you to take me back to the comment about the Gorilla Glue girl.
Yeah.
Like, what is that, and who is that?
Okay, so usually, so I'll sort of start from the beginning. So usually when most women are doing like a sleek ponytail, and if your hair isn't chemically straightened, it's quite hard for curly hair to give like this really sleek look, especially if you want to add like this straight ponytail. It's going to look like two different textures. It's going to look terrible. So people usually add something called gorilla snot to
What
their
is that?
hair, which is like
Gorilla snot?
It's an extremely chemical, disgusting, nasty, I would not recommend type of gel, basically. And it really like slicks your hair back, sort of makes it look like a helmet, so that it matches. It sort of matches with like this ponytail that you have going on. So she ran out of gorilla snot, and she thought that it would be a good idea to use Gorilla Glue, because she was only going to use it for a couple of hours, and she could come home and she could wash it off, and you know, her hair would look very much snatched, and it would.
What does snatch? What does snatched mean?
Like
you gotta break down these terms for our audience. You're using so many industry
it just
terms.
means like your audience knows what snatched means. It just means that it looks great. It looks,
and it's not
awesome.
an industry term, Jordan.
Wow, I had no idea. Maybe I'm out of touch. Snatch?
Yeah. Like,
so I can go to Roz and be like, yo, Roz, your hair's looking snatched right now. I can say that without being in any trouble.
I don't know how Ross would feel about that, but I mean,
I think that's how you want to use it.
Yo, Uncle Mike, call your wife just now and be like, hey, your hair looks snatched. Like, try that one out and see if you don't get in any trouble.
No, man. We're older. Those words, I don't know about them words. I'll just pass on it.
Just so that she looks beautiful. Stick with the words that you know.
Stick to what I know. Mm-hmm.
So she put Gorilla Glue in her hair, which we all know is used for like,
it's chemical.
Yeah, for like, you know,
it's an industrial chemical
in the house. Exactly. Yeah. And so after about a month, she still had the same ponytail because it would not wash out. Her hair was literally like a helmet. It would not wash out. And she went to the internet to ask for help. Please help me, because I can't get the solvent that I've sprayed on my hair. So she ended up going to LA, where this Ghanaian doctor who does like plastic surgery and stuff, he's a chemist. He helped her out. He made this solution for her hair, and now her hair is, it's fine. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. You wanted your hair to be that like it just had to be with no curls, it was that serious that you put a chemical solvent in your hair? Why was it that
so
serious?
ridiculous. Like
It
that
is.
is crazy. It sounded like she could have used some support from Roz because, last night I was able to utilize some help from Roz. And, I'm going to open up about my hair journey now because I needed some help and I didn't know what to do. I always get fresh haircuts, but, the pandemic kind of slowed things down and I wasn't able to get access. However, I went to our resident hair care expert, Roz, and she put me up on a line of amazing products. And those products were mailed to me from the US and they finally arrived last week. So I was super excited to get everything together. I went out and got a new do-rag. Everything came together and last night was the big kickoff. So Roz helped me via video chat to apply all these new hair care products. I did so while in the shower and I filmed it. And
awesome.
I had some clothing on, but Roz was there the whole time.
Okay.
He was wearing clothes the whole time as
I
well.
was wearing clothes, but Roz was there to handhold me the whole time and just give me that support. And she came up with a nice routine for me and we implemented it. And today my hair is feeling really good, really fresh. So first off, Roz, I want to thank you for that support. It was a little weird when my wife walked into the bathroom and thought that I was filming some sort of adult video. I neglected to tell her that this would be happening. So she came in and she's like, hey, like what's going on here? And I was like, hey, Roz is helping me with this hair care routine. It was all in my hair.
That
it was
sounds
all
better.
foamy.
Yes.
Yeah. And then to prove it, I made sure to turn the camera around so she could see that there was nothing sinister happening. But I've learned my lesson that when getting hair support from Roz, you should probably tell your significant other. It's probably a good idea.
So you have like a whole natural hair care regimen now?
Yeah. I'd say my favorite part was probably the shampoo bar. I used the shampoo bar. I got a really good lather. I could not believe it. I'm like, why doesn't all shampoo come in a bar? But I feel really good. I finally smell like a Black woman. Like I smell great. I want my auntie to smell me because I probably smell like one of my aunties right now, and that's fine. That's fantastic. I feel kind of complete, and I'm wearing my Jamaica shirt today, so I'm in a good groove.
I'm gonna call you
Awesome.
Auntie Judith.
Can I ask what you used?
So this was from a company called Main Crush.
Oh, Roslyn, you put it on to Main Crush.
Yes.
Oh.
Elle put me on. I put you on. This is how we do this.
And I think that's kind of like the beauty of how things have come today, because I think back, I'm like, where would I ever have gotten this information from? Like, it's not like I can just walk into the store and look on the shelves because, near my house, there's very few stores that have Black hair care products. So I was literally lost. Like, I didn't know what to use, right? And I think it's cool that, word of mouth can spread about these products. And I could get put up on something like that and be able to like utilize the internet, because in the past, I might not have had access to Black hair care products from anywhere else, from either it being locally or it coming from a larger, like a name, like a big producer. But now I can go right to the source and get it from, smaller entrepreneurs that are using all natural stuff. Like I can turn around the backs of the products and see what's inside them. I don't feel like intimidated when I see that they're natural ingredients, and I feel more comfortable, and I know that I'm not doing anything that's going to harm myself, because we told stories about hair care disasters, and like nobody wants to put anything weird in their hair at home and see something go wrong. Like I saw that Gorilla Girl chick. I'm not trying to be like her. So really happy for the love.
That's awesome. Yeah. Honestly, like, even when you do go into a store that sort of caters to Black hair, it's not run by Black people. They have Black people working there. That also, they don't seem to know a lot about what products they have in the store. So I'm happy to hear that you were able to just go onto the internet and find something by an actual like Black woman owned small company to help you out with your hair.
Yeah. I think that a big thing too is like, even if you were to go into like Walmart, where they do have some products that are for Black hair, there's they're not the products that are natural usually. First of all, like they're ones that are full of really bad chemicals and things that are actually bad for your hair. That's like a whole thing. And then the other thing is that our products are typically locked. I've even saw a video yesterday where it was, I think it was like concealer. And so the light colors were unlocked and there weren't any security tags.
Of course.
And then you get to like darker colors and those ones have like security tags and they're locked in and you wouldn't be able to access them. Like the first time I went to Walmart looking for hair care stuff, I saw that it was locked and I was like, and I Googled it and I saw that statistically speaking, white hair products are stolen much more than black hair products.
So then why would they lock up the black hair care products if statistics showed otherwise, Roz?
Because we're thieves.
Oh.
That's it.
We don't have any money. We must be thieves.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes no sense, but that's fine.
It doesn't make any sense, but they always do it, or it's just ridiculously expensive. And I'm just like, why am I looking at this little container paying all of this money for this product that you didn't probably pay a lot to get for? Why is it's locked, first of all, so I have to come and ask you about it. And if I don't really know about it, I can't really ask you those questions because the person that's probably unlocking it doesn't know too much about it. And then I can't afford it on top of that. So it's just all inaccessible to me. Or the cheaper ones have really bad chemicals, and those are the ones that I have to put in my head. Why? It just, none of it makes any sense, but it's gotten a lot better, but not too much. You have companies like Shea Moisture, who they sort of, once they became mainstream, because they started off just as a small brand catering to Black women, and we loved them because they were sort of the only thing around. They got into bigger stores like Walmart, etc., and said, bye, you guys made us, but we're going to change our formulas and we don't care about your hair anymore. Figure it out, sis.
Yeah. And these still happening a lot. When corporations realize that the Black hair care industry was like, I don't know how many billions of dollars it is. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like 500 billion or 5 million. I can't remember. But
we spend a lot of money on hair.
Yeah. So once corporations realized that it was so profitable, they did, like, that's when white people stepped in and they decided that we're going to buy this brand or we're going to start investing in this brand. And you can honestly see a difference in the product when it was just Black owned versus when white people started investing in it. And then you see that chemicals are added. You see that the effects on your hair, typically it ends up becoming worse and things like that happening. What's up, Mike?
What do you think helped make it mainstream? Was it things like Chris Rock's movie or his documentary, Good Hair? I know in that documentary they had prices of things and how much people pay for their hair. They talked to people that were not people of color, and they talked about how much they paid for their hair. Then they talked to a Black woman and how much they paid for a wig or for a weave. And then, from the differences from what they were interviewing the people, you can see the price discrepancy on everything. Do you think that was a point where people jumped on, or companies jumped on and said, hey, let's get on this bandwagon because we can make some Black money?
I mean, it might have played a small part of it, but to me, the natural hair community on YouTube is really what started people paying more attention to natural hair, because people were actually looking that up, researching it, and sort of like women were not wanting their hair to look straight anymore. It just wasn't happening. It's also one of the reasons why Chris Rock made Good Hair. So to me, it started off the natural hair community on YouTube. I'm going to give those women all of their things, all of their props, because mostly when I talk to people, that's where they sort of learned about natural hair. And companies like I was going to lie and say companies pay natural hair YouTubers a lot of money, but they don't. They sort of hijacked the community, and they don't. They used to pay attention to more of the natural hair community, but once it got popular, with like people showing their hair on like social media, Instagram, YouTube, they sort of like hijacked it. So good hair did help, but to me, it wasn't the main point of reference.
It was kind of in the making, and this brings another theme that we've explored, where companies are leveraging social media now to get involved, and using social media to kind of shape narratives. So again, super interesting. Roz, by all means.
I think that there's also a great thing where we are also able to bring to light what's happening behind the scenes, where influencers can say that this company, they're not paying me, and I used to say how great their products were, but there's been a difference now in the product and it actually sucks. You should not use it. Or this company pays me $300 per post, but they're paying these white girls with less, or I don't want to target white people only, but they're paying these white girls with less followers than me and less influences $500 per post. And that is unfair. And so we're able to see a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes and realize, you know what, I'm not going to support this company because they're not supporting us.
Exactly. And if you go on YouTube now, you'll sort of see a shift in people not putting the names of their products in their video titles. They'll probably like hashtag it so that when you do look it up, that it's there. But they stopped paying them because they wanted a certain type of look. And it all sort of, it became sort of whitewashed, for lack of a better word, because they're not necessarily using white women. They're just using women that are racially ambiguous with hair that more people covet to market their products now. And it's not working for somebody that has a kinkier texture. And I know that's kind of rich coming from me because I don't have a kinkier texture, but it affects my child who does have a kinkier texture. So I sort of pay attention to things like that a little bit more. Natural hair YouTube is a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, like I had no idea this stuff is going on, and like being a guy, it's a little more simple. Like the barber shop is kind of the spot where we would get together to kind of discuss that. I had no idea, the YouTube world was kind of like that. But it's been a real eye opener to kind of step back and see this whole other world.
If you even look on like places like Instagram and you look at natural hair, if you even Google natural, like maybe type 4 hair, the images that will come up first are definitely people that do not have type 4 hair. So people are now even confused if they don't know, what does type 4 hair look like? Because if you Google it, I think Rosalind's doing it right now. It doesn't, that's not what comes up is definitely type 3 hair. So people are now even confused. The whole hair typing system just saying it's gotta go.
Right, which is why you said it was garbage before.
Yeah, it's very divisive. It's gotta go. It's just made something that was started to be so beautiful and helpful. It just kind of turned it ugly.
Yeah.
Also, nobody's spending a whole day in the hair salon anymore.
That's really? Because I hated that part. Like no. I'd never go to the hair salon again with my mom or anybody else, just because of the wait. I remember hair salons are so boring. Like just even thinking about it, I'm remembering past trauma of being trapped in a hair salon as a little boy, and there's all these women talking about stuff that I have no idea about, and the magazines were always so terrible. Oh, it's just I can't even go. Oh, I don't want to.
What are you even complaining about, Jordan? When I was getting my hair like cut like low and I had to go to the barbershop, I would have to spend even more time sitting waiting for all of the other men to go first than it takes to cut my hair. Like barbershop.
Hey, that's part of the game at the barbershop. You should show up early. I know you have to sleep up in bed on Saturday morning, so there's no way you're gonna get in line for a cut.
Barbershop for a young male is a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So my son, I always used to cut his hair when he was younger, and then when he got a little bit older, where he would understand and enjoy going to the barbershop, I would take it to my friend's shop. He has a shop in Brampton called Blade Runners. Shout out to Leighton. And every few weeks, I would take my son over to the barbershop where he gets that experience. He hears people talking about different things. I remember when I was going to the barbershop, back in the day when I cut off the Jerry curls and had a nice fade going. I used to leave Malton and go all the way downtown to Lloyd's barbershop.
Yes,
Right?
Lloyd.
Me and my friends, we would drive down after school, sit there for hours because we had to wait our turn. Right. So
Wow.
that's a rite of
Yeah.
passage, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's changes now. Obviously, I've seen a lot of the changes with technology, with them doing online bookings. Like even my son does online bookings for the haircuts that he has when he has a little barbershop in the basement. But it's still a rite of passing when you have to get through, you see the old heads talking about shit.
I think if you're a barber today and you don't have an online booking app, you're probably still operating with rubbing sticks together. People's time is super. No, it's like honestly, like I'm with a barber now. Shout outs to Shaq, Cryptomaniac here in Whitby. But Shaq uses online booking, and it helps me because if I have to get a cut, while in between work meetings, it allows it to actually be a in stone time versus walking in and having to just like first come first serve wait. It definitely makes things smoother, and can prevent Roz's situation where you're waiting a long time. So like the barbershop, like Mike, you said, a rite of passage. You look forward to it. You go to the shop. I've been at the shop before, and a guy's come in and he's getting a cut, and it made me laugh. He's explaining his relationship problems out loud to the barber. But we're all in there and we're there. We're able to coach each other. Hey man, like you shouldn't do that. Like try this instead. And, coach each other through that in this kind of communal moment in the shop, and then there's like a soccer game going on in the background and like music playing, and it's good times all around. So, I look forward to haircuts and even the relationship that you build with, your barber, like it goes beyond just a simple cut. It's almost like you're meeting with a psychologist to and a counselor to talk about life. And it goes much beyond that. So it's super special. And sorry, Russ, I know I almost cut you there. You want to jump in?
Oh yeah. So even just like what you're saying on being able to talk to your barber openly, there are a few programs that are out right now. There are some that are like 12-month programs, or even shorter, where they are teaching barbers how to recognize mental illness and issues with mental health, and then providing them with some tools for how to actually support their clients even further.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, mental health is like very stigmatized, I think, in the Black community. But also there's also the perception that people have of Black men being like stoic and not being vulnerable and being aggressive and all of these things. And that can make it really hard, I think, to reach out for mental help. But your barber, who you see every week or every couple of weeks, like you talk to him like regular. And so you're able to have those open and honest conversations. And if he's trained, then he's able to provide you with better guidance and really support you. And so, yeah. What's up, Ruby?
I think there's also programs in place to recognize abuse. So for females in particular, I was reading something about having a similar program, but to recognize physical, sexual abuse and just the conversations that some of the clients would be having.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like
the more people, crazy.
The more people that are prepared and understanding of what's happening and have training to support you, the better.
And when you think about it, it's an awesome idea, because the person that you sit with that is doing this intimate service with your hair, your crown, is the person that you tell all your business to. So that makes sense.
So, Ruby, you touched on hair coverings earlier with turbans. Elle, you've got a beautiful, hair wrap right now of that very aggressive knot that is not gonna come undone.
No.
It's very secure. Roz, I've seen her bonnet last night. I got a really good peek at her bonnet. It's very stylish. It's a shame that, she wears it only to bed. She could probably wear it out and about and look fine.
No. Rosalind, don't. Very ghetto.
I will not.
I
can say what he wants. I appreciate the compliment. You know it's not gonna happen.
I gotta try. I had to bring back the do-rag, to make sure things were staying nice and tight in the way they're supposed to be. But what are your thoughts? What are the best hair coverings? Does it have to be silky?
Preferably, because things that are cotton will suck all the moisture out of your hair, and if you have textured hair, you don't want moisture leaving your hair. It's just gonna make your style fail. It's not gonna look good. So I have a nice other thing underneath this that is silky, and then I put this wrap just to keep my hair, moisturized and looking lush. So silk sort of materials, satin materials is always best to cover your hair with. And just also, if you're lazy like me and didn't want to undo your twist, it makes you look like, you've done something.
Ruby, what material are turbans made out of? Like I've always been interested because like I've seen different turbans and they look like they're different materials, but I never knew, and like I quite frankly was a little scared to ask.
Don't be scared. It's just fabric. The fabric is usually cotton, and there's different types of cotton, like the texture of the cotton, the thickness of the cotton, and there's different things people do with the fabric as well. Like my grandfather used to put starch on it to make it really stiff, so he'd have a very shaped, clean, crisp like fold when he did his turban. My dad doesn't. He likes to just free for all and just do his thing, but it's usually cotton. It's very breathable, and the length of it can be 5 to 7 meters, depending on, or even shorter actually, depending on how much of a turban you want to, kind of how many layers of a turban you want, or how minimalistic of a turban you want. So like you
can have a minimalistic turban.
Yeah, so like it's just, my younger brother has what you would call like a gold bug, and it's more of a shape of like, it's just around like a jagmeet type of turban. It's okay, kind of round and kind of goes up. And then the type my dad would have, we sometimes call it like the boat shape, which is like the triangular shape of it.
So these are terms I can use. Like I'm not going to get in trouble for calling it a boat shaped turban. Like I'm allowed to say that.
Well, I don't know.
Do it.
We just hear a terrible story of Jordan getting boxed by a seaman.
Yeah, for real.
Just say nice turban. I think you'll be safe on that. But even like the different regions, like a Kenyan turban, or a lot of people in the UK, the styles of turban, I would say they're more simplistic and smaller turbans. But yeah, like it's just fascinating. Like I've started to learn more about turbans and the layers of turbans. And it doesn't have to, and people often ask, well, can it be any color? It is part of your attire. It's a part of your look. It can be any color you want.
I'd be matching that to my clothes all the time.
Any color you want.
I probably have a lot of turbans.
I know one dude that matches it to his shoes.
Yeah,
really?
It's cool.
Yeah.
Pocket square.
For anyone that doesn't know, Jordan had the pleasure of hosting a talk with Jagmeet, and he was just fangirling the entire time. He was like, oh my God, yeah, I love the way you dress. I love that your pocket square matches your turban, and just fangirling.
I'm a devil in the details type of person, and I like when men show out in fashion. I feel like as a man, there's a certain stigma to a well-dressed man, but I feel that when men can kind of show out and show that, hey, I can style myself properly, it's not my significant other or somebody else working in the background. I think that's a great sign of strength. And I know that when I get dressed up, I really take pride in doing those little devil in detail things, especially with pocket squares. I mean, if you're a guy and you're rocking a suit and you don't got a pocket square these days, got to step your game up. But matching it to the turban, that's next level. That's next level attention to detail. That's awesome to see. And I wasn't fangirling.
Oh, okay.
I might have been fawning a little bit. I might have fawning just a little bit, but I want to quickly close off on the Indian hair trade, because I know that feeds the the hair industry in terms of being able to get hair from hair stores. I know you mentioned, Elle, that hair stores are typically run by people that don't look like us. They employ people that look like us, but they're not ran by people like us. I saw an interesting documentary. I believe it was in Good Hair too that they had it, where they kind of shone some light onto the hair industry. in the Indian hair trade. And it was interesting to find out that, you know, the hair that are used by a lot of people that look like us doesn't actually come from, you know, the same, I'd say, nationality. So yeah, Ruby, I know you've got a lot of inside information. Maybe you and Elle can jump in and shed some light.
It's just interesting to think about, because going back to my whole conversation earlier on, seeing people with long extensions, and I was like, what the hell? Like, why? I used to think when I was a kid, I'm like, what if I cut my hair and just put in extensions and nobody would know that I cut my hair? But looking at where extensions come from, and it's a huge industry. Like, I think I was looking at the numbers, it's like $400 million a year. And one temple can make, like, I wrote it down, I think they have 3 tons of hair that they ship per year, and it's like millions of dollars.
3 tons?
3
Oh my
tons.
gosh.
Just one temple. So the hair industry, predominantly where it comes from in India, is in the south. So people of the Hindu faith, they'll have, you know, they'll ask for something like a prayer for they want a kid, or like some sort of sacrifice they want to do. Widows, when they become widows, they have to shave their head. So that hair is almost a sacrificial passage to kind of get their prayers answered. So a lot of people would go to a temple in one of these areas in the south predominantly and have their head shaved. So back in the like, usually what they would do with the hair is either they would let the hair just float in the river. So it's like a lot of hair, or it was burnt. So I guess, like, back in the 60s or 70s, when wigs and weaves became more of a prominent thing, individuals figured out, hey, why don't I just take the hair that's being shaven and start selling that? And now it's become this massive industry where women, mostly women, sell their hair to make a living, and it's poor women. So they don't even need to be going to the temples for a prayer or have to be a widow, but just shaving their head to sell their hair. But imagine the money the temples are making, because it's not like, if I was to go to a temple right now to do a prayer and have my head shaved, I'm not getting any money for it.
Wait, what do you mean? It's your hair.
Yeah, but you're doing it for your own prayers and your own kind of, so that hair is then sent to, like, imagine the money that's being made by the people that are collecting the hair.
And they're getting free hair.
Yeah, there's like no capital, like nothing, free hair. And I just, like, $400 million industry, like, per year. And one temple I was reading, and this temple that I was reading about is one of the smaller temples, and they do 3 tons of hair, and they have factories that are set up. So there's 2 types of hair. One's called Remy hair, one's non-Remy hair. So Remy hair is the shaved hair. So it's just like taking my full, like how that lady took my ponytail, that's Remy hair. Un-Remy hair is like if I was to comb my hair and the hair that's come out from just brushing my hair out. And then there's factories that are just set up to sort your hair out. And Remy hair is more expensive because it's not brushed out hair, I guess.
It's not shed hair, which is...
It's not shed hair. That's,
yeah.
So it's just
crazy.
Some of the science and behind some of this stuff is unreal. Like, the things that you just walk down the street, like, I'm gonna be looking at anybody's hair with extensions now, and I'm like, I wonder where that came from.
Well, I was like, oh, sorry, yeah. Go on.
I was just saying, like, if you can tell that it's not extensions, because that's the point, right? For it to look like it grew out of your head. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, because going back to Jordan's point about the type of hair, like, because I was reading that they were trying to dye the hair blonde to sell it to the European nations, but then there's also prominently a lot of demand in North American markets for black hair. And then the other interesting thing I was reading about, in an Orthodox Jewish community, women shave their heads when they get married, and then they wear wigs. So there was a huge industry in wig making in that community, where the Jewish community actually went to see if it was kosher, the hair, and they determined it wasn't because
Wow.
the link to the hair being shaved at temples. Like, it was just so fascinating.
Wow.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. I did
yeah.
not know that.
So yeah. So now I don't think they deal with Indian hair anymore. So I don't know where they're getting their hair. But China is another industry, another market that does hair, but apparently the quality isn't as good. And Myanmar, if I'm saying it correctly, is another region. But it's a whole other fascinating world that I just never thought.
One could say maybe that the situation has become hairy.
Yes, George.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my
I finally got off a dad joke, Mike. Did you?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
that was that a good dad joke? I finally got it off. I'm very pleased.
yeah, a good dad joke is a bad joke.
Oh,
That's fine. That's fine.
oh my gosh. So
So,
I
Elle,
have actually. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a question for you. So, like, with this industry being so like massive, what are your thoughts on hair extensions and wigs and the costs? Because, like I said, the capitalist of this all, like, they're making easy money,
Yeah.
but the costs now to the consumer, like, what are your thoughts on that?
So I have actually never had a weave or a wig or wore human hair extensions. Like, the most I've done with extensions is wear braids, which is like Kanekalon. It's a like a chemical fabric. Like, it's not actual hair. So I've never had to purchase any of these things, but from what I can see, if you want to actually buy good hair, you're looking at, like, at the minimum, like $300 for one bundle, which means that I need to buy several bundles to put on my head.
What?
I think yeah.
How much?
Like-
Whoa! How much hair does a bundle do?
It's
Like-
probably not even going to do half your head. You need at least 2 or 3.
What?
And then on top of that, most likely from looking it up, from looking at the vendors or people that I know that buy hair extensions, they're buying it from companies that are in, like, China based, right? And even if you own a company, you are not getting the direct supplier. You're getting it from someplace in China. From what I've seen, it's mostly Chinese companies that have that. So the money is not even going to the people, as Ruby said, the people that are supplying the hair, like the actual hair, and it's not going to the people that are mostly buying the hair. There's always some sort of middle person, and it doesn't look like either of the people that the source is from, which makes no sense. And it's a big industry, and Black and brown people are sort of cut off from it, unless you're like the temple, who is sort of taking advantage of poor people because they want the prayers, and so they're supplying the hair, or from the people that mostly make wigs or get wigs for Black women or do extensions for Black women. They're sort of being cut off from a lot of the money because they have to buy it from someplace, and I guarantee you where they're buying it from is not somebody Black.
We're
It's
in
not
the,
somebody that
we're in the
looks
wrong
from
business.
them.
I'm doing technology trying to make money. I mean, like, I could have been in the hair care, like synthetic
Oh, you'd
fibers.
make-
I mean,
It still wouldn't help you because
$300 a bundle though?
you don't look like
Isn't
how
that
you're
more than
supposed to
drugs?
look.
Like, that's more than drugs. Like,
It is more than drugs. It's human hair, right? So it's like virgin, it's never been colored, it's all of these things. And so there's a huge demand for it. People like nice wigs, especially Black women. You don't want like Caucasian hair, you want Indian hair. Indian people, brown people have beautiful hair, and you want that in your head. So that's where you're gonna go.
Ruby, what are you doing later with all that hair on your head there?
I've already donated.
It's already died.
I've already donated. And I need to start growing it out for the next
Okay,
cut.
so I think we can line up Elle and Roz, and they might want first dibs on that
Ruby's hair.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Roz, I don't know if you want to move to trivia. We're approaching the end here. You know, I know Uncle Mike has been, you know, dying to jump in. He's a hair aficionado, and I know he's going to be able to knock this out the park. So, Mike, go ahead. You're going to represent us in the hair trivia challenge. Don't worry.
Jordan.
Don't feel that
We are
intimidated
a
by
team,
Elle.
Jordan. It's not I'm representing. It's me and you. It's team.
Okay. You know what? I tried to exit stage left. Can't do it. I'm gonna stick it out here. So Roz, whenever you're ready, you can do your worst. Uncle Mike and I, we're feeling pretty confident we could take down Elle.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
That's
Okay, we'll do it a little bit more organized because this one is not multiple choice. So if you would like to answer, just say me. And whoever says me first gets the first opportunity to answer. Okay?
okay.
And I'm going to put
Okay.
myself on mute because of a tendency to get competitive when I'm not supposed to be a part of the game.
I can already picture Ruby unmuting and answering.
And blurting out the answer. Yeah.
You can be on our team too.
Okay, first question. What is shrinkage?
Me.
And this is a loaded question, man. What is shrinkage? I need some context.
Okay, give him context.
I wish we got a
in terms of hair,
screenshot
Jordan.
of
Jordan's face. Anyone watching the video will get an opportunity to laugh. Okay, so what is shrinkage in relation to natural hair?
Oh, okay. It's after you wash your hair. The shrink is it because it can shrink up to 80%. So if you're doing any style or anything like that, you have to make sure that your hair isn't wet, right? And if you're doing any style, you have to twist it or do whatever you're doing to it until it's dry.
Mike strikes first.
That was a really good answer.
I have a wife.
That was perfect. Wow, great job, Mike. And you were nervous? You wanted a team? Okay, 1 point for Mike. Next question. What is the Loc or LCO method?
Okay, me.
Oh, I know it. Me, I know it.
Elle said me first.
Elle got it.
So the Loc method is just a method of keeping moisture in your hair. L stands for some sort of liquid. The O stands for oil, and the C is for cream. So it's just the method of you layer the products on so you keep moisture in your hair.
Oh, you know what? That reminds me. I see an opportunity here to address a really disparaging stereotype. I heard a really weird stereotype, and I've heard this growing up, that people that have dreads have dirty, disgusting hair, and that in order to keep dreads, they've got to be filthy. So, black people with dreads are gross. Have you guys ever heard of a myth like this before?
I've heard people say it, but it's definitely not true.
It's definitely not true. And I don't like the term dreads. I like to use locks because the word dreads comes from dreadful. So it's not dreadful. They're locks. They're not dreads. And you actually have to keep your hair really clean and take care of it in order for your hair to lock properly and for it to grow. So they probably wash their hair. I've seen my uncle wash his hair more than me, and he has locks. So your hair cannot be dirty and disgusting in order to maintain a healthy pair of locks. It takes quite a lot of maintenance to have locks.
Yeah, I see.
The only time that I see people with dirty locks are typically if they're not black. That's when that's when I see dirty locks. That's what my mom calls them, actually. Look at these dirty lock people and them. Follow fashion. That's what she says.
Okay, Roz, more questions.
Okay.
Maybe one more. Question. Maybe one more because we're tied now, right?
Yes.
Yes, we're 1-1.
Last question. What is cream crack?
Oh.
I'm going to give you a chance.
Me.
Okay, Mike said me.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah.
That's the pink lotion.
Oh, no. Mike.
No.
Sorry, did you say pink lotion?
Yeah. So pink lotion.
It's a hair care product.
It's quite disgusting, but it's not the creamy crack.
Okay.
Honestly, but I like the way it smells. Like I've always really it smells like comforting.
I've always hated it.
Jordan, I'm so disappointed.
I don't know.
There's nothing good in it for your hair. I think it's very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. Because I know my mom's routine would have been with my hair would be pink lotion, some of the spray, some Blue Magic. But now we know better.
I like how I say pink lotion and it brings up all this conversation.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so Elle, your turn. What
Creamy crack
creamy-
is a relaxer. That's the creamy crack.
Ah!
Right, yeah.
Because people are usually addicted to it. So that's the creamy crack for keeping their hair straight.
All right, Elle, you win the
I did know that.
trivia. You see, we kind of had a feeling this would happen.
Elle is the first guest to win trivia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because Jordan
This is
and
the first
I
time Ruby didn't play, so congratulations.
I definitely did not know what creamy crack was.
Yeah. So Elle, you know what? Thank you so much for being on the pod today. We really, really enjoyed having you and having you shed some light on hair. We'll probably want to have you back for a follow-up episode because hair is constantly evolving. And the Quadcast crew really, really, really loves having you. So we wish you all the best. Thank you once again.
Thank you guys for having me and for speaking with me, allowing me in your space. I've listened to about 6 episodes so far of your podcast, so I look forward to listening to more and hearing all your different and interesting topics. Thank you for having me.
This has been the Technically Diverse podcast. Remember to hit subscribe on whichever app you prefer to get your podcasts. You can also connect with us on various social platforms. On Twitter, you can follow us at TechnicallyD. On Instagram, you can follow us at Technically Diverse. Or if you prefer to watch, subscribe to our YouTube channel that shares the same name, Technically Diverse. We also love getting feedback and ideas, so if there's anything you'd like to see, you can send us an email to technicallydiverse@gmail.com.
Time as